Greetings, my friends. Today we're covering a story about a white man who wants to be black. He titles his Reddit, we're reading a Reddit story titled, Black Men Are Extremely Privileged Group, and I Wish I Was Black. Okay, so me being a black man, I figured I could read it and respond to it. And by the way, you guys, if you want to comment, please comment below. Okay, so let's get right into it. This guy says, as a short, pasty white man, black men are extremely privileged group of society. I'm not denying racism or the past suffering of black people that they had to endure, and a lot of the black population still suffer from racism, poverty, and much more, which we as a society need to address, and I sympathize. But in today's society, the average young black man is a rock star. Okay? He continues, black dudes are extremely effective at sports of any sort, and are overall extremely athletic, tall, and naturally strong. All my white friends had Michael Jordan posters. All my white friends had Michael Jordan posters on their room, not a single Larry Bird. That's kind of funny. You know, and no one rocks Larry Bird either, right? Larry Bird has like his own sneakers. I don't think anyone even rocks them like that. He continues, black dudes are very popular with women of all races, especially white women. That idea that black guys are good and are well endowed, right, good in bed, really pays off, and it's hard to see single, somewhat decent black dudes for long. When I'm hearing my female cousins talking, when I hear my female cousins talking, they're always talking about some attractive black dude they're dating. When they talk about a white boyfriend, it's always, oh, he's cute and nice, but he's never the hot, exciting one. Okay. Interesting. He continues, black culture is the coolest thing ever. Rap and hip hop are the mainstay of pop culture right now. And every movie or game trailer is a rap song. Young rappers score millions. The way black people dress are always the main focus of fashion and pop culture. And even among the snobby intellectuals, you have things like jazz and blues. That's some good points. But let's continue. He also says, when I wear my Lakers jersey and blast hip hop in my car, people say I look like a dork and lame. But when my black friends do it, they're hip and cool. And I say black men because I know that black women have somewhat more difficulty finding a relationship since the beauty standard is the small, delicate looking Caucasian/Asian type girls. Okay, and he completes it by saying, I sincerely wish I was a 6 foot tall black dude, and I'm tired to hear that I'm somewhat privileged for being white. Being white sucks. I wish I was black. Okay, now I'm going to read some of these comments here in the video, and then from there, I'm going to give you my response to this, okay? Now, the biggest comment I've seen that people really liked was this one person kind of rebuttaling him. Let's go with the rebuttal. The rebuttal says, what you are basically saying is that black people are fetishized, and as someone who feels undesirable and unwanted, you wish you were fetishized too. This is a common feeling from people who feel unwanted. It very often comes in the form of fat, ugly men saying that women should appreciate being catcalled because at least it means people like and desire them or whatever. But it's very solipsistic view. People who are actually fetishized and objectified by society and the people around them don't experience it as just a nice positive ego boost and opening of opportunities. When you actually live that life, it is inherently dehumanizing, restricting, and dangerous. This is interesting. He continues, yes, there is a fetishized image of the aggressive, outspoken, stylish young black man in media that has a lot of cultural cachet. What that means in practice is that if you are a young black man, society puts a ton of pressure on you to conform to that image. And if you don't want to or can't, then you are treated as defective and preyed upon by all corners. Okay? This was a really thought out response, but I'm going to continue so I can give you guys my response at the end. And if you do conform to that image, yes, it opens up some doors and gains you some respect, but it's still not great overall. The image includes inherent danger, both because it includes a presumption of aggression and violence in and of itself, and because cops and Karens all the like view it as inherently dangerous and react with a greater force and prejudice to it. Some truth to that. And even when you get respect or sex or whatever for fitting the image well, it's always clear that those things are always being given to the image, not to you. For example, someone who doesn't get much sex may think it would be great to get a lot of sex for fitting someone's fetish, but in reality, it's often really dehumanizing, degrading, and traumatizing. Then he finishes off with this. Furthermore, the fitting that image may open a few specific doors in terms of things that fit the image, but it closes all the other doors that don't. Every young black man can try to look like the style of a rapper and assume whatever cultural cachet comes from that, but they can't all be rappers. Many of them may need to become public accountants, project managers, or engineers. And you might be surprised how many doors get closed and how many obstacles get thrown in the way when you try to do those things while also fitting the fetishized image. Or how many challenges from the culture you face if you instead intentionally reject that image to pursue those other things. It's a catch-22 that makes life harder for the 99.5% who don't go into the industries where the image is a benefit. Great response. And then the original writer responds, okay, I can officially say that this post in particular changed my opinion, and perhaps indeed I was buying into the fetishized image of upper successful black men without considering all the downsides. I sincerely apologize if I offended anyone. I'm not a bad person, and I'm indeed learning a lot from different views on this thread. Awesome. Very good. Now, as a mouthful, I want to respond to first what the guy originally said. He talked about all the benefits of being a black man, being desired, being fetishized. Let me start off by saying this. As a black man, I experience a lot of what he's describing, a lot of what he's talking about. I can honestly say fetishization of black men in some way is not a great thing. It's a good thing, but not a great thing. Let's talk about it. I've been fetishized before. When I walk into a room, everyone assumes I got a big black cock. That has some benefits. That has some downsides. The benefits is that there is a baseline of respect that comes with being a black man, right? From a level of aggression, from a level of sexual prowess, sexual ability. Now, fortunately for me, I do have a big black cock. But imagine if I didn't. I know people who don't have a BBC, right? And for them, it might be overwhelming that they have to live up to a standard they can't live up to. And a lot of these men that don't have this image or don't fit the image of society actually disappoint their sexual partners, right? If they are about to engage in sex with a partner, they might experience a lot of anxiety knowing that they're not going to live up to the expectation. Now, I don't know how many black men are like this, but a portion are. And so for them, it sucks, right? So when we talk about black men in general, if you live up to the standard, that's good. Here's another downside of it. A lot of people think that if you're black, you're athletic, you might get picked to play on a pickup game of basketball or other sports. I always got picked to play on a pickup game of basketball and other sports. And boy, oh boy, did I disappoint the people that chose me because I suck at basketball. I never really played growing up. I have no skills. It wasn't like a pastime of mine. But people assume that I'm good at basketball just because I'm black. It's kind of offensive. People also assume that I know a lot about sports because I'm black. So people come up to me, start spewing out, man, did you see what happened to this team and that team? And they traded this guy and they traded that guy. And what were they thinking? And, we scored a touchdown in the last, 2 minutes of the game. And there was an interception and all these things that I know nothing about. Guys, I know I'm black. I know I'm fit because I'm a personal trainer. For those that are new here that don't know, I'm a personal trainer. So I'm fit. But I don't play sports. I box, right? I love boxing. Boxing is my favorite sport. And I could talk about boxing for days, but when it comes to football, basketball, baseball, like I am a complete novice, a casual fan at best, and I don't know anything what's going on. I don't know a lot about sports, sports history, sports teams, how sports work, what division they're in. I know nothing. And a lot of people look at me like, what's wrong with that guy? He don't know anything about sports. Something wrong with him. Like, that's the downside. You tend to disappoint people when you don't live up to the image. As far as dating, like, you know, I'll say this: the upsides of being black, is very niche. It's not really on a general base that like all white girls gonna like you. I would say the percentage of white girls that will like a black guy might be 3 to 4%. Like if you met 100 white girls, maybe 3 of them or 4 of them might specifically like black guys. That's my experience. Most black, at least most white girls, from what I've heard, if they do like black guys, they don't claim it, you know, and they don't express it publicly. It's kind of like a hidden thing. Only 3 to 4% from my experience would actually express it openly, like I only date black guys, and you know they'll kind of express it that way. So for the most part, there is no real benefit of being a black guy, you know, amongst a race outside of black people. Now, if you're with black people, you know, is there a benefit for being a dark-skinned black guy in black culture in a black neighborhood? Absolutely. If you're dark-skinned and tall as a black man, there's a benefit for it. But if you're in the suburbs like me, I grew up in the suburbs, there's virtually no benefit. You know, there's a lot of downsides. I remember when I was younger, someone made a bomb threat on my school. This is like the first year I moved to like the white suburbs. I used to live in like a hood in Jersey City. Well, I didn't live in the hood. I lived in a nice part of the hood, but I went to school in the hood in Jersey City where predominantly all the kids were black. And we had Filipino kids. So it was like blacks and some Filipinos and some Spanish, and everything else was like a minority, right? Whites were like a minority in my school. So I went from like an all-black school to an all-white school. And one of the things I noticed right away is that anytime something happened bad in the school, they blame me. For example, some kid made a bomb threat, and the teacher thought I did it. Like, he called in the bomb threat. Now, a couple things saved me. One, I have a very smart father. When they approached my father about it, they were like, yo, we think your son made a bomb threat. He was like, no, absolutely not. My son would never do that. Because he just knew me. He knew I wasn't a kid that pranked people and played games. This tends to, no offense to white people, but tends to be something that white kids do. Pull fire alarms, make bomb threats for fun, you know, egg people's houses. It's not a black thing to do, you know. And then 2, my voice did not sound anything, I'm assuming, like the person that made the bomb threat. I have a very distinctive voice, and it probably sounded nothing like it. But the teacher automatically assumed it was me, because why? I was the only black kid in a largely white class. So, again, a lot of people assume that if there's a crime or something happens, a black person did it. I'll tell you one more, too. In college, me and a white friend of mine, we're actually in the same fraternity. We got in a fight with a couple of dudes. Okay. Now, we end up both getting arrested and charged for the fight. The difference between me and the white kid was my white friend, my fraternity brother, he actually committed more crimes than I did. So we both got charged for assault, but he also got charged with lying to police officers because we kind of got caught, I guess, in the act of the fight, but the cops didn't really see us fighting. They just seen us in a group of people because it was like, I'll tell the story another time. It was a whole thing, like, you know, fraternity against another fraternity type of thing. Long story short, when the cops kind of discovered me and my fraternity brother fighting another group of people, but they didn't really see us in the act, my white friend said, no, it wasn't us fighting. It was a group of, listen to what he said, a group of black kids that were fighting, and they just ran that way. When the cop heard him say that, the cop literally jumped in his car and started traveling looking for a group of black kids that were apparently fleeing a fight. When the cops found out that wasn't true, he got charged with like lying to police officer, obstructing justice, something like that. He had an extra charge than I did. Even though he had more charges than I did, my bail was a lot higher than his. So his bail, was $7,000, but at a 10%, so effectively $700. My bail, get ready for this, was $30,000, no 10%. I'm telling you, we had the exact same charges, except for he had a few more because he got caught lying to cops about a fight that never happened. Like, they kind of obstructed justice by just lying to police, saying something happened that never happen. But my bill was a lot larger than his. And for me, I choked that up to just straight up racism, right? I'm black, I'm at a school fighting. The assumption is that I probably was the aggressor and I led this white kid down this path, so on and so forth. So what I've realized, I grew up realizing, especially being in white spaces and being in college, my daddy's always telling me, like, you cannot get away with stuff that white kids could get away with. So don't do none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? You have to be on the extra, like, narrow path of success. You can't stray from side to side. You got to be careful. Now, and that's how I was as a kid. My daddy's always telling me, never give cops a reason to pull you over. Like, don't speed, don't do nothing, don't give them a single reason to pull you over. You'll be fine. So I've been extra cautious because I was growing up being black. Because we realized some of the society, the image of a black man is a poor image. It might be a good sexual image, but the other part of the image is violence, aggression, you're part of gangs and stuff. That's not so good. But so this guy, I think he's talking about the value of being attractive to women. Now, I am taller, right? I'm like 5'11", almost 5'6", 5'11". But I would say that I'm also skinnier than the average person. I grew up pretty skinny, and that's why when I went to the gym, started getting muscles, I've realized how differently people treat people that have muscles and are fit. So if you're a skinny black man, I strongly recommend working out because you get treated very differently than that as a skinny black man. So for me, I benefited from being taller, but I was skinnier than the average person, so that didn't help me out much. And so, I don't know. I personally feel like I had some benefits for being black, but they largely are the minority of women. It doesn't help you out with largely the whole popular women. I'm assuming that the way I look at it is even if I'm above average black guy, the average white guy is going to have more success with white women. Respectfully, I understand that. I have more successful black women than the white guy does. So this idea that you appeal to all women, I don't necessarily think so. I think if you're black tall, like if you're 6 foot tall plus, in general, of any race, that's going to be appealing. If you're black, that might help somewhat. And I think if you are a star athlete, that will help because you're a star athlete. I don't think it's because you're black. But I agree and disagree with portions of what he was saying. You know, I do agree that there's some upsides. There's a lot of downsides, and they don't really balance out. I always feel like there's more downsides than upsides. But what do you guys think? That's just my take on it. As far as the person that responded to him, I agree a lot with that person, except for that, you know, it might be really dependent on what neighborhood you're in. In some neighborhoods, black guys are the coolest and the best if they're athletes and they're tall. But again, that might just be because they're athletes and they're tall. Like black is like a second thing. And there's some neighborhoods where it's a downside. But that's my personal experience. I had some upsides, some downsides. I don't really feel like it balanced out. And if anything, I feel like it's better to be in an environment where you are part of the majority. If you're the minority, I think you're just going to be treated like an outsider largely. That's how I feel. Most communities I'm at that are not black communities, I feel like an outsider. I don't feel like I'm cooler, better, more accepted than anybody else. So that's my take. Let me know what you guys think about it. Check out some of my other videos. I'll talk to you soon. Until next time.